Hi guys, good evening everybody and welcome to another episode of Inside Tech Careers. As always, we have somebody extremely special with us today. He is a DevOps engineer at Amazon. So without any further ado, let us welcome Manish onto the stage. Hi Manish.
Hey, hi Nishita. Hi everyone.
Before we begin, could you give us a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So myself Manish, and currently I'm working as a DevOps Engineer 3 at Amazon. And overall, I'm having 4 years of more than 4 years of experience. And parallelly, I do teach at as well. I do take live classes, and I have teaching experience of around 3 years as well. So I have taught more than 200 plus 500, around 500 of students. And yeah, previously I worked at Cognizant, and there I worked for 2 years, and then later I switched to Amazon. And yeah, that was a very rock and roll kind of journey till now. Yeah, hopefully it goes smooth later as well. Yeah, so that's my brief introduction of myself.
All right, Manish. So let us talk a bit more about you first before we dive into anything else. So you mentioned that you were a fresher at Cognizant. So what did you know about technology at that point, and what did you have to learn once you entered this industry?
Okay, so getting into Cognizant is one of the stories. Okay, so once I get
Mhm.
into Cognizant, since I went through the interview process, that was a pool hiring that in my college. So I get into Cognizant as a Gen Z next as a role, and then
Mhm.
technology that they hired for me as an advanced Java developer. Okay,
Mhm.
but during that time when I got get into Cognizant, what I the surprising part of getting into service based company like TCS, Cognizant, and other HCL, Accenture. So they hire for some role according to the requirement at that time. But what happens, like, the requirement changes, right? In
Mhm.
companies, they may deploy you to some other project with some different technologies. They will train you for 6 months or 3 months according to the requirement, how much their training period will be. So
Mhm.
I was hired as an advanced Java developer, but deployed into some supply chain management domain. That I
Mhm.
was totally, I don't have any clue what supply chain management was there, because I was totally clueless. And deployed me into some project, and I was on bench basically, but my training period was started. They were
Mhm.
giving me some tasks, some training videos. So I have to go through that. It was related to some SQL and some warehouse management kind of things. Okay, so
Mhm.
where you have to design some remotes or the invoices, it will be getting printed automatically. You have to automate tasks. Basically, it is a EAS, enterprise application services, you have to work on.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
was very much like surprising for me. I was not aware of any of the thing. But yeah,
Mhm.
during that period, because see, things can be very person to person. Even supply chain
Mhm.
management a career goal for others as well. But coming from like the background which I was having, I was interested in coding development or some more technical stuff that I can build and create an impact. We can also create
Mhm.
impact in supply chain management as well, but I was not interested. So it varies interest to interest. So I was not able to accept that role. So what I
Mhm.
did during that period of time, I was going through the training whatever company provides me, managers assign me. I do that. Parallelly, I started exploring other things as well, because I heard during that time that data engineering was great. Okay,
Mhm.
so I started learning Kafka, SQL, and there's Airflow, all those stuffs. So
Mhm.
Databricks. But later, and I started applying to other roles as well. Like within the Cognizant only, the other projects are also running. So there is a portal that where you can go and search the project, which manager is hiring, where is the opening. You can
Mhm.
see and you can apply that project. So I
Mhm.
heard changing project is also one of the very difficult tasks in companies like Cognizant. Okay, so that was, but I started trying, like yeah, I have to go. I started searching for data engineering, but eventually one of the manager reached out, and he told, we don't have data engineer, but we have DevOps. Okay, so it is, but as a DevOps engineer, you will be supporting data engineer as well, data engineer team
Mhm.
as well. Okay, so
Mhm.
what will happen, if in case you don't enjoy DevOps, then you can switch to data engineering, because you will be working, have some background of data engineering as well. So as you have worked on Databricks, you have some this Airflow knowledge and data pipelines, Databricks. So we can take you in. You have to go through some interviews and all. There are client interview will be happening on the other side. There were 3 rounds. I cleared that round. I also started learning cloud as well. I did one
Hmm.
certification, that is cloud practitioner uh, certificate, beginner certificate in AWS. So,
Hmm.
and that helped me to get into the project. So the person who guys are looking to this podcast, certification one of the key that can help you to getting shortlisted your resume. Okay,
Hmm.
so that helped me during my time as well. When I get into
Hmm.
that, I started enjoying DevOps. Cause why? What the technology, Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, pipelines, creating pipeline, deploying things, having cross-team collaborations with dev team, QA team, and solution architects, stakeholders. So it giving me like a clear picture what as a fresher. Cause when I came from college as a fresher, I was knowing nothing, because I
Hmm.
had basic knowledge of coding, I had basic knowledge of networking, OS, whatever we learned in college, right? And we
Hmm.
do uh, prepare for interviews. That is only what I had, but I was not aware how the production looks like, how team collaboration look like, what is upstream, what is downstream. These terminologies. So something breaks, like check the downstream. What downstream means? Like what is that? So when you get into the project, you will be having this clear picture. So this is how I started enjoying DevOps, and I thought,
Hmm.
yeah, leave it the data engineering path. I'll continue in DevOps only. Let's try deep dive into this DevOps journey and get as much as knowledge I can. So that was my journey as a fresher to Cognizant and into DevOps.
I think you very well also described at exactly at which point you realized that DevOps and cloud was the direction you personally wanted to pursue. I think you covered all of that aspect also. And you mentioned that you started out as a Java backend developer and then you went into supply chain management and you did realize it's not something for you personally. And then you got into DevOps and cloud and you realized that is something for you. Now, in all of this journey from Cognizant to DevOps focused role to eventually Amazon, of all of the turning points that you described, which one you think was the biggest turning point for you in this journey?
So during this turning point from when I was starting, like when I was working with the client, okay,
Mhm.
there were some as you are a vendor, because
Mhm.
you are working a service based company, you have clients and you are a vendor. So you are working on some restricted environment. And also in case if it is a pharmaceutical manufacturing companies like that, pharma life science domain, there are a lot of restrictions there. You will not be having access to a lot of things, right? And you
Mhm.
have to go through a lot of approval process as well for a single thing. So that was bit frustrating for me as well. So what I did, and I was getting tenured. Like I wanted to going switch from service based to a product based company. I do
Mhm.
not blame any service based company. I started from service based company. They have a lot of learning potential. You can learn a lot. I do not. I do bet if you are working on a product based company and if you are working on a service company, in service based company, you will be learning a lot as a fresher. Okay,
Mhm.
so it is not like that if you are in service based company you are in some bad place. But yeah, getting out of at that from that point to a better place, it should be your call. So when to get out
Mhm.
of from there. So what I started learning, getting into more DevOps pipelines, like diving deep into the architecture, learning more Docker, Kubernetes in depth, Linux in depth, networking, all things. And I started applying to the other jobs as well. So what I
Mhm.
did, the question which I do get, so I felt like whatever I am doing, it is not the market standard. Okay,
All
so
right.
I felt like that is because that one of the turning points which helped me to get into Amazon was one of the interview which I appeared. I won't take name of that company, but yeah,
Mhm.
it ended within 5 minutes. Okay, they asked me, tell about the Kubernetes architecture.
Mhm.
I was not actually working on a Kubernetes. I had some exposure, but yeah, like you can say, you are a junior DevOps engineer at something. You will not get exposure to everything you have to design or deploy. You will
Mhm.
have some limited access only. Okay, so I was not aware. So he asked me, and I was not able to answer it properly, and it ended in 5 minutes. So during that time, I realized whatever the thing which I have learned is not enough. Whatever the things I'm working is not enough to get into some product, good product based company. So that was one of the turning point for me and helped me to like it was a trigger point for me, like how things can end in 5 minutes. And I started learning like hell. So that was one of the turning point that helped me get into a good see Amazon. I haven't seen like Amazon I will go to an Amazon. Okay, it
Hmm.
just happened to me. Some recruiter reached out to me on my LinkedIn. I applied to it. I went through the process and I got an offer from Amazon. Before that, I appeared for Samsung. I appeared for few other startup companies as well. So all those, after that, I Amazon happened. So yeah, so that was a journey, like as a turning point also, and how I get into Amazon.
I think you beautifully explained your journey. You also talked about all of the turning points, and I think it's the realization that comes from that one interview where you realize you're maybe not doing enough or you don't know enough. Definitely hits. Now, there's this something that I want to ask you. Now that you've shared your journey with us, what is something that you wish you had known since you were a fresher, which you think would have accelerated your career?
Okay, the one thing which I know, like my actual career path, because the thing is that when I get into a company like Cognizant, right, I was not aware
Hmm.
about where should I go.
Hmm.
Okay, what path should I take? I went from advanced Java backend developer to data engineering, and then I landed into DevOps. So that was some zigzag thing was there in my mind. I was not very clear. So it would be better if I would have already made up my mind that this career path I have to follow, and this is what I want to achieve. And these all things I have to learn and practice, and the project should be aligning to that one. So it will
Hmm.
be have streamlined my journey, and the wherever I am right now, it would be a bit faster. So know the things and what you actually need and what I am actually see. Sometimes happens like we are weak at something, but we do not
Hmm.
accept. If I am not good at coding or not good at advanced data structure algorithms, I don't know the competitive programming. I cannot do that much, so accept it. So acceptance
Hmm.
is also one of the stage that people do later realize it. So acceptance, I do accept it that yeah, this part, like I am not made for competitive programming, but I can solve complex problem. I can learn things quickly. So understand your strength and weaknesses, and then act on it and choose the career path accordingly. Yeah, also be flexible. It's not like that if you have chose DevOps, you will only do DevOps. Because in the companies like Amazon or any from Microsoft, Google, and other advanced Adobe, Atlassian, it is not like if you are working as a DevOps engineer, you will only take the task which is only for meant for DevOps. No, it is
Hmm.
not like that. They want flexibility as well. If they will give you some backlog or migration task or some development task, you should be able to take that. So it is not like that you can completely skip coding and anything like that, but you must be knowing how to write code, how to understand code, because there will be things that you will be working on. Tons of things will be there. So you have to understand others code as well. So when I was in Cognizant, it was difficult for me, and it was a bit frustrating as well. Who has written this kind of code? I don't understand the commenting. They haven't commented it, so it is bit frustrating for us. But it is a
Hmm.
part of job role itself, because you have to debug things. You have to debug the code which is written by someone else. Okay, so you must be have flexible, understand your weaknesses and strength, align with those weaknesses and strength with your job role. Then only you will be able to get into a like right path for your career. So this is how you can land your dream job or dream company and dream role. So yeah.
That is true. Knowing your path from the very beginning would have definitely accelerated a lot of the journey, and being flexible is essentially important in ever evolving roles. So I do agree with it. Now that you've shared your journey with us and we have a fair idea of the chunk of struggles and hardships that you went through, let's talk about what you do, which is DevOps. So let us clear this misconception first. What actually is DevOps?
Okay. So first of all, DevOps basically is what I would say. It is not just a combination of tools. A lot of people, even I do when I do take some classes, I do connect with folks on TopMate and other platform on LinkedIn as well. So the people do is, what all things should I learn to become a DevOps engineer? So the thing is that the mindset is, if I learn this 5 to 6 tools, I will become a DevOps engineer. So the thing is that it's not the combination of tools that make you a DevOps. It's basically understanding what actually lies, what is DevOps mindset. Because anyone can be a DevOps engineer. A developer can also should have the DevOps mindset. So it's all about a culture. So what you have to do here in DevOps, we do tear down the wall between developers, developer who writes the code, and operations who runs the code. Okay, so
Mhm.
this loop that we have as a DevOps engineer are responsible to shorten this feedback loop. You have to write you have to take the code. Okay, you have to developer has put some code. Okay, you have to have some loop in their stages, pipeline, deploy, and the production. There is some monitoring stage as well. So how you will be shorten this feedback loop, so that if something breaks, developer should know, or some whatever the stakeholder who is associated with that particular product, they should know that this went wrong. You have to do quickly fix it and then again deploy it. So it's our job role, our responsibility as a DevOps engineer to shorten this feedback loop. Okay, and you have to also, you're responsible to automate the repetitive, whatever the thing you are getting day to day life. Like as a DevOps engineer, you have to be very mindful that what is the repetitive task we are doing, what developers or what other team members, what managers, their pain points, understand their pain points and your pain points, what exactly you are doing repeatedly every day, because it could be boring at some point of time. That can be a part to become to have a burnout. So it will be like, it will job your job will become boring. You cannot able to focus on other things. So as a DevOps engineer, your task is to also build something or automate the task which is very repetitive. Okay, that will also add up something, your data points as well, that you have done, and also it will stand out. You can stand out from other DevOps engineers who are just learning tools to become a DevOps engineer, to continue in the journey, and also become a, there are two scenarios where DevOps engineer, we can bifurcate a good DevOps engineer and a bad DevOps engineer. The one is that reactive, something broke and you come and fix it. This is a reactive DevOps engineer. But
Mhm.
actually, what in market, what interviewers, what other director, whatever the means, the leaders that you, if you are getting interviewed, what they think that this guy is not reactive, they want proactive DevOps engineer. So they will analyze it before something broke, and they will do the patching so that it should not come from the customers. Okay, means the users who are facing using your product, they should not file some issues or some ticket that this got broke. You are the one who already analyzed it, retrospected that, and you made the patches, and then it should not happen in future, in any time in the future, right? So there is a difference between proactive and reactive. So it is good if you are, it is, that makes you a good DevOps engineer when you work proactively on something.
I think
Yeah.
you very beautifully explained the difference between a DevOps engineer who only knows tools, which is a reactive DevOps engineer, and a good DevOps engineer, which is a proactive DevOps engineer.
Right.
So I think you very beautifully bifurcated this between a good and a reactive one. Now now that there was this thing that you mentioned in the very beginning about how people think that just learning a certain tools will make you a good DevOps engineer, and that's not the case. So when we talk about people who often think DevOps is about Docker plus Kubernetes plus Jenkins plus AWS, why do you think that definition is incomplete?
Okay, so this question, I want to put it like this. Let's say if you want to cook something, if I give you knife, a stove, or some utensils, will you able to cook it? No. Because why? Only the, if you know, if I give you the tools, you will not be able to cook, right? You must know what all spices that you have to provide, how much temperature you have to cook in, okay, and how to like serve it. So all the things, after that, you have to also take the feedback from the customers as well, like whether they like that dish or not. So it is same like that. If I give you Docker, Kubernetes, if I teach you Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, and AWS, will you able to create the pipeline and deploy it? It is no. It is clearly a no, because you have to learn about the depth, how to design your infra, how to use this Docker, Kubernetes, and what all things. If I say you know Dockers, but I want to deploy something which is should be lightweight and it should not eat up my disk memory, it should not eat up my host memory. Okay, so how you will do that? Uh, unless you have know that how to design my infra so that it is highly optimized, highly error resilient. Okay, it should not go into error very often, and it should not alarm for same things whenever I deploy. It should do the proper, it should go through proper stages of deploying, scanning of the vulnerabilities, and building that, pushing the artifact, and then deploy it, and then have monitoring. So all those things you should know. Only the knowing of these tools will not make you a DevOps engineer, or not will help you to crack the interviews as well. Because anybody can learn few commands and learn the architecture of Kubernetes or Docker, and learn how to create pipelines, learn about a few service of AWS, but how to connect those dots, that's how you make, and how to design those things with help of this. Because there are a lot of things involved. Networking is involved, Linux is involved, and you have to monitoring is involved, how to do logging, how to extract those log and come up with some proper what error it has actually, what is the actual error, because there are tons of error you will get, but what is the actual error from there? So you should know, understand your infra properly, and then you can make use of Docker and their commands and the logging and all the stuff, so it makes you complete. Okay, those things make you only the knowing of the tool will not make you complete, and also it will not help you to crack the interviews as well, to get into good product based company.
I feel like that's a very, very fair comparison, especially when you started out with knowing the tools and knowing exactly how to use them and patching the distance between them. Now, there's another thing that we often get when it comes to DevOps. How important are Linux networking and scripting as compared to tools like Docker and Kubernetes?
Okay, that's a very fair question, I guess. See, first of all, these two things is very underrated. Linux and networking is very much underrated when you learn DevOps. So people
Mhm.
come say, I will learn Jenkins, I will learn bit of shell scripting, Python, and I will do monitoring, Ansible, Cloud, Grafana, Prometheus, Terraform. That makes me DevOps engineer. But a lot of people do ignore Linux and networking. Okay, so if I say everything in containerization, if you go directly for if you think Kubernetes is DevOps, if you think Docker is a DevOps, everything built on Linux. Okay, everything, when you do SSH into your container, everything, the command, what all things you will be learning, running, it is all about Linux command only. So it will be
Mhm.
fair if we say Kubernetes is Linux. Networking makes you, and whatever the error if you will get, if a crash loopback error, out of memory fault, so there you run Kubernetes, sorry, Linux commands. And if something broke, some network call is not coming, something, some latency you are facing, so
Mhm.
all these will help you to, like, if you know networking, you can troubleshoot it. So these are the foundations, so everything built on the foundation only. Okay, if you know networking, Linux, it is as much as important knowing DevOps. Okay,
Mhm.
so cannot skip Linux and networking and shell scripting. All those are the fundamentals, and everything built on fundamentals. Then only if you go for Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, whatever you tools you are learning, then it will make sense, and it will be very easier for you to as well. When you get to see, cracking interview is not the only thing you have to do. After cracking the interview, you have to work as well, right? So in the real
Mhm.
production scenario, so that the actual crux of it. So if you know Linux and networking in depth, you know the models, you know the layers, what is application layer, how application layer works, how data layer works, what is physical layer, means what is TCP calls, what is UDP calls, how what is HTTP, what is SSL and TLS, how TLS termination happens. All those things must be knowing, because when you get into the company and you get in the project, you have started working, all this will make sense then. Because interview and the actual work are very much different. I bet everyone who is watching this podcast, they will agree. See, when you crack the interview and when you start working on the actual product and project, this is very much different. So knowing the fundamental and basics is as much as important to become a good DevOps engineer. So yeah, that's my answer on this.
Yeah, that's extremely fair, and that's very understandable that you have to, in any case, I feel like not only DevOps, you always have to polish your basics, your foundations, and then move on to the tools and all of that part. So it's very understandable that Linux is pretty essential when it comes to DevOps. Now you
Yeah.
very beautifully defined what a good DevOps engineer is in a few answers ago, right? So you mentioned how a good DevOps engineer is somebody who's proactive. Now here's a question. Do you think somebody can be a good DevOps engineer without being a good programmer?
See, here is good programmer, like here makes we can have some context. So if you are talking about good programmer is a good competitive coder, or
Mhm.
one who did 500, 600, or 1000 of lead code problem, we don't need that. Being a good
Mhm.
DevOps engineer is more, we don't need competitive programming level of coding to become a good site reliability engineer or good DevOps engineer or a platform engineer. Yeah, we can have some platform engineering if you are working, appearing for platform engineer role. Then there could be some more algorithm that you should know. But when you come to SRE and DevOps, you don't have to become, you have to don't have to know, like practice 500, 600 problems on lead code related to graph tree, try all those things, dynamic programming, so backtracking, all those you don't need it. You what your First of all, you have to understand what DevOps is and what all things you will be doing in DevOps. You will be automating things, you will be migrating, you will be debugging, you will be troubleshooting it, you will be taking on call responsibilities, you will be taking some developer backlog tickets. So those things you have to understand. So in that case, what you need basic Python knowledge. You will be needing shell scripting, a good level of shell scripting. And when it comes to DSA, you have to know array strings, and what I will say, basic level of algorithms, like if you say sliding window is there, so take the sliding window as a, like, not, do not do a hard question of it, but yeah, basic lead code problem of, if you solve 50 to 60 lead code problem on these array and strings, and have some basic algorithm, then it will be more than enough to crack an interview of first round. Because every interview will, every DevOps or SRE interview or platform engineer, first round will be coding only. And that coding will not be judged on basis of your graph and tree questions. They will give you some log related problem. They will give you a, you should know how to parse log, how to open a file, how to read that file, how to extract errors, how to do string filtering. So all those means file operations you have to learn. So basic means, more than basic, if you can say easy to medium level of lead code if you have done, and basic Python, and you know how to do file operations, and like how to automate things, Python automation, then it will be more than enough for you to crack the interview, and or actually work on the real scenarios in your company and the project as well. So yeah, that is how you have to, programmer side, be a
That is that is very understandable. Having, again, I feel like it comes down to the gist of having your basics, right? If you do not need to do hard level POTDs, you do not need to do extreme questions or be a really great competitive programmer. If you have your basics right, you would be able to get there.
yeah.
Now here's a real world problem that I'd like to ask you. A developer pushes the code, okay? Walk us through everything that should ideally happen before that code reaches production.
Okay, so this is what we do actually do create, and also this is one of the day-to-day tasks that as a DevOps engineer you have to
Mhm.
do. When it comes, when a developer pushes the code, there is a code repository that you are maintaining, okay? And when it push the code into the repository after the code reviews and everything, what it will do, it will trigger the pipeline first. Pipeline first, it means that it will build your code, which will run its unit tests, which will be having some sub unit tests, like a PyTest will be there, depending if you have Python code. So what it will do, it will check the unit test. If something fails, it will not go to the next stages of the pipeline. Okay, it will fail. We call it fail fast. Okay, it
Mhm.
fail fast and provide the feedback pipeline has been failed. So
Mhm.
you can come and check what actually has failed. You have to debug it, whether it is your pipeline issue or the code issue. If it is a code issue, you have to ask the developer to fix it first of all, and then once it is suppose and then it fixed and it is good pass, and then it comes the static analysis we call it. Okay, and some security scans. Security scans means that what it does, it will check the code thoroughly if there in any secrets that you have hard coded it, or any vulnerabilities or any dependencies that is getting expired and it is not it is out of end of life we call it. Okay, if it is end of life, then it will give you warning, or it will help, it will fail the pipeline as well. If it is that severe, then it will depends on the severity, it will fail or it will give you just the warning. Okay, so this
Mhm.
is a static analysis. Once you push the code, pipeline triggered, the unit test passes, and static analysis it has passed. Then what it will do, it will build the artifact. If you are working with the Docker images, then it will create an image, and also it will scan the image can also, we call it CVEs. Okay, container vulnerability something is there, so it will check the image vulnerabilities there, CVE we call it. So if there any warning, that it will give you, or you have to upgrade some dependencies there, and then you have to rebuild the image. Once it does this, it will auto deploy to some lower stages. Okay, maybe dev stages, you can say, you can have QA stages. So before going to prod, you have these many stages where you can check your actual code how it is behaving. It is it behaving like as expected, or it is having some anomalies, some buttons are not working. If you are working having some UI, if that button is not behaving, if you are adding to cart, it is not getting reflected. So you can test thoroughly in your lower environment. Okay, once your everything, like there would be some, when it runs in lower environment, there will be some integration tests running and end-to-end tests running. You have written some test cases, so it will pass. If it passes, then it is good to deploy into a production. And also, deploying into production, it is not like that you will 100% deploy all the new changes into production. It should be on some deployment strategy. As a DevOps engineer, or a site reliability engineer, or a platform engineer, you have to understand how you are deploying things. We call it deployment strategy. There are many 5 to 6 deployment strategies are there. We call it blue green strategy, canary deployment, red and green deployment. So these are some deployment strategies that we follow. So you have to deploy how you would, whether it is good that we call it dial up. So you can have 1%, 5%, 10% of traffic, you can start it for real world traffic. You can start deploying to the new infra, new code, and check whether your monitoring stuff that you have, whether the traffic actually coming or not. If there any spike is there, latency is fine, everything is fine, then you can gradually increase the percentage, or you can dial up, you can start dial up. Once you dial up to 100%, means 100 of traffic is coming to the new code, then it is good. And later you can have check the observability matrices as well. Means you can check your spike, cpu usage, latency, error rate, all those things you can check on your observability dashboard. If it is all fine, then this is how you can claim that your deployment is successful once the developer has pushed. So if I summarize it, you will be, pipeline will automatically build the unit test. Okay, it will check out the code, and it will run the unit test. It will do the static analysis of your code. It will build the artifact and push into ECR, or wherever you are putting your JFrog. Okay, JFrog is also code artifactory, where you can push the have the artifact. So in case of something went wrong, you can roll back to the previous stable version. Okay, or you will deploy into lower environment, dev, QA, and then you go to prod. And the deployment in the prod will be, should be having proper deployment strategy. In generally, we do use canary and blue green. So canary is basically percent wise you have to dial up. Okay, once it is done, you will be having observability. Once it is deployed, you will have to monitor your dashboard as well. Like anything goes on, it should directly triggers an alarms. And if someone is on call, they have to come up, uh, and promptly he has to mitigate that issue or resolve that by doing the fixes. And this is what as a full cycle of a DevOps engineer and deployment uh, happens when someone pushes the code into the code repository.
That's extremely insightful to know the entire cycle. And I feel like that's a good answer to wrap up the entire DevOps production issue into. I feel like it was done, explained really beautifully. As somebody who doesn't work on things like these, I feel like this is extremely insightful. Now that we've talked about DevOps, let's move on a little bit to production and your Amazon engineering and cloud. Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've dealt with a lot of production systems and on-call incidents. What does a real production incident look like, compared to the problems that people solve in tutorials? Like you also mentioned that interviews are very different than hand-on work. So what do you think the difference is?
Okay. So I would like to talk about one of the real incidents that I recently had. Okay, so that was one of the things that I was working on one of the migration tasks. Okay, so as I mentioned, as a DevOps engineer, you don't have to only work on the pipelines or only at the infra side. Okay, you have to do some migrations or you have to make some development changes as well. So I was working on one of the migrations, and what happens, like, it was a Friday night actually, because yeah, this Friday night kind of instance we generally see on LinkedIn as well. Like, Friday night I did this and something broke, but it is the real incident that I really faced. So it was a Friday night, and we can say, as a like engineer, Friday night is one of the special night that we have. Like, it is tomorrow is
Mhm.
Saturday, yeah, we can chill pill today. So what I did, so I made up with the changes. I did the testing as well. Okay, in my local I did the testing. I in the lower environment also I did the testing. Yeah, everything looks fine. So what I did, I thought, what will happen? Everything is fine. Let's promote it to develop production state. So what I did, I deployed in the production state. What happens? After 5 minutes, I see a blank screen on my laptop. When I reload that particular URL, if you say Geeks for Geeks, when you trigger it, you say
Mhm.
blank screen. What will happen now? So that kind of that actually, that is not the actual means, the real world customer. Like, it is not like Amazon.com is down, but there is one
Mhm.
internal application I was migrating it. So that was used by internal customers also, but that was when I was deploying it at night. So it was around 11 12 p.m, and the actual user is from not from India. So
Mhm.
it was a safer kind of moment that I chose. If something goes wrong, I will quickly revert it. Nobody will know. Okay, so that what actually happened to me means, I ordered a pizza. My pizza is sitting inside to be eaten. Okay, but here I did the deployment and I see
Mhm.
50 error on my screen, like 502 bad gateway error. So it is basically, tells about your upstream or downstream kind of error. So I was really shocked, because everything worked better in my lower environment. All the testing, everything is fine, but why it is broke in production? That was really like, and this kind of issue I was getting like after a long time. So it bit panicked me as well. But let's see, let's have I s- I thought that let's calm down and then start debugging. I SSH into host. Okay, and I check the logs, worker logs, and in the worker logs, I after like 30 minutes of deep dive on those stuff and the HSS. I had two hosts. In both the host, the same error was there. So I checked and checked the worker logs, and I checked the permission. There is one error. Okay, there was an error called, if somebody is from tech background, they would know that CloudWatch log describe permission is denied something. So that
Mhm.
what it is a runtime error. Okay, it is not like that. It only will happen when actually your deployment is running, like it is a kind of runtime error. So what will
Mhm.
happen when your worker will bootstrap for the first time, it will also check for that permission as well. So that permission was denied. So since I was doing some migration related to auth, so that
Mhm.
permission was not added to my IAM role. Okay, so that was one of the error. So I quickly secured all the logs. Okay, secured all the logs, all copy pasted it in my equip, so that I can go and troubleshoot it later if it is required, and deep dive. So and quickly, I didn't wasted much time. I first of all, I did the revert to my previous stable version, so that customer will not be impacted if in for a longer period of time. Although it is 50 bad gateway, it will take 5 to 10 minutes to get reverted. So that 10
Mhm.
minutes, I quickly SSH into the host, check the logs and copy pasted it, and then what I did, I reverted back, and the production was secured. So, and I did analysis of that, what is the actual error and what is the permanent fix. So first, as a DevOps engineer, you, as a good engineer, you have to understand what is the blast radius. If you first you have to analyze what is the blast radius, and what is the perfect time of deployment, what should be your deployment window, how to, if something goes wrong, how to quick fast, okay, how to act fast so that to recover your production. Okay, so those things you have to pre-analyze it, and then once you do that, you have to come up with a permanent fix as well, so that, and proper testing strategy. If something is not there in, see, we are the one who makes the process, right? So if
Hmm.
something, that process is not documented anywhere, you have to update that particular wiki or whatever Confluence you are working. You have to update that particular wiki, so that in future, if someone faces the same error, they can refer to that one, and it will be more quicker than that. And also it will not be occur errors, you have to make the permanent fix. So what I did, I made the changes, I raised the PR, and I get the approval from by giving up. And again, I did the testing properly, because there was some issue in the lower environment that was not catching that particular kind of error. So I made that fix as well, so that my lower environment in future can catch that kind of issue as well, so that my lower environment will become robust, and all the testing can be done end to end there only, so that production will not be become our testing environment. So right, so that was the real incident that I encountered. And the learnings which I made is that we have to make our lower environment robust as well. We have to do, understand, check the logs as well in the worker. It's not everything will, deployment log will not say anything about it. Every, not anything means the deployment log will not tell you about everything. Okay, so you have to understand what worker logs also, like you have to check other things like matrices as well. You have to check, you have to check some worker logs, you have to host logs, you can say. So all those things, take that, analyze it. If it is that, if that file that is fine, then only go to production. So end to end testing must be that robust, so that any buggy code should not go into production. So this is the real incident and the learning that I got.
I feel like that's very beautifully explained. I feel like there's this saying that was said a lot in our college itself, that a good engineer, you can recognize a good engineer by how they deal with problems. And I would never leave my pizza for that. So hats off. And I feel like there's this very popular meme about how anything that can go wrong in production will go wrong in production, like
Yes.
Murphy's law. And I believe that's like this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did deal with it very beautifully, and that is something I do feel like learning tutorials or just learning it on a smaller basis you wouldn't understand it till you actually work hands on any product.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, you also mentioned that you worked extensively with AWS. So, what
Yeah.
cloud concepts could every DevOps engineer understand, regardless of which cloud provider they use?
Yeah, that's a fair question, I guess, because there are a lot of cloud providers apart from these three giants: AWS,
Mhm.
GCP, and Azure. There are other cloud providers as well. Salesforce also provide, Oracle Cloud is also there. So
Mhm.
all those cloud providers, see, as I mentioned in the very beginning of my this podcast, that fundamentals should be cleared. Okay, so become a DevOps. In, if I take example of AWS, I have 4 certifications in AWS and 1 certification in Azure as well. Okay,
Mhm.
so what I understood that, see, learning cloud for a DevOps engineer, you, in AWS there are more than 200 services. Okay, so you don't have to learn all the 200 services in depth. You have to understand your work area, and the work area, what all services you will majorly work with. Okay, so some of the services which I want to tell about, like you have to understand the compute. So all AWS is built on pillars. Okay, there are some and sections. So there are compute sections. In compute section, you have to deal with EC2, AMIs, container, and what are serverless architectures. Okay, so you have to learn about EC2, EKS, ECS in compute section. When then comes networking, there are some areas you have to there, if you are going to a senior engineer role, okay, not a junior DevOps. If you are going to senior DevOps engineer or senior SRE, so you have to design things as well. Okay, so how you will design VPC? So you have to understand about VPC, how VPC, what is networking concept inside that, what all subnets are there, how to create a subnet, what is private subnet, what is public subnet, what is NAT gateway, okay, what is internet gateway. So all these things you have to understand. Okay, and then load balancers. there are four kind of load balancers are there. Majorly we do work ALB and NLB. So understand what is ALB, NLB, how to when to use choose NLB, when to use choose ALB, what is the difference between them, what kind of traffics they handle. Okay, so this comes in networking section. Then comes storage section. In storage, you have to understand about there are EBS, EFS, object and object storage and the file storage are there. So understand about what all the storage are there, and you have to also learn about RDS instances, SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL. Not all things, but understand the basics of the host, what is replica, how to master, what is master data, what is master and workers. So there are replicas also there, how they work, what is input, output, throughput. Because sometimes happens when you work on some debugging task. Why I'm emphasizing on this? Because if you work on some of the debugging tasks, something sometimes happens like, oh, everything works fine, my CPU disk or everything is great, but we face some latency in our when we do click something. If I log in into GeeksforGeeks, I will take it will taking more time to log in. So that is called latency. So there could be some areas, because there could be some input output throttling is happening in the back end. So if somebody registers some issues related to that, you should be the one who understand. Yeah, it could be the one of the classic example of classic case of input output operation throttle. So
Mhm.
that is why you should understand about some RDS instances, input output operations as well. Okay, then comes IAM. You should be knowing about IAM. Okay, what is IAM, how to create IAM, how to give what is roles, what is the trust policy, what is permissions. So what is inline permissions, you have to, so all these things you have to know about in depth. Manage as I mentioned, some databases, right? So observability, you should be knowing about CloudWatch, Grafana, Prometheus. So if I talk about AWS, it is only CloudWatch is enough, more than enough for observability and logging. And yeah, this is the one. And also you have to understand about the what is costing. Okay, how the costing works. Okay, pay as you go
Mhm.
model is there, but what is if I go for on demand instance, if I go for spot instance, if I go for reserved instance. Because you could, if you are working on a senior role, you have to design things, right? So how you will design it, you have to take because company checks about, there are trade-off between cost and resilience. Okay, so if they are having some defined cost, this is our budget, you have to design this your infra in this budget only. So you have to understand what instance you have to use, whether you can go for EKS, whether you have to go for ECS or any other model. What is should be the deployment strategy, whether you for blue green will have some two stages at the same point of time, means two environment, it can have double your cost during that period of time. So you have to understand about these things. So networking, storage, identity management, manage database, and compute networking, all these are important for a in cloud point of view. So accordingly you have to choose the service and understand. Do not learn which is not required for a DevOps engineer, because there are SageMaker is also there. So why you need SageMaker if you don't need that? So yeah, learn it. What is that, what that is important, but do not go in depth. You have to go into depth on these only. Okay, so yeah,
Right.
you can what you can do, you can minimize the wastage of the time on learning those things which is not required, and the things which is required, you can invest more time and know more in more depth. So this is what I want to say.
I feel like we got a very good checklist out of this of everything that's truly essential, not the ones that are not really necessary. Everything that's truly essential, we got a checklist out of it for everybody who wants to get into this.
Right.
Now, we went through your resume. You also worked on cloud cost optimization, right? So,
Okay.
where do you think companies typically waste their money in cloud?
Okay. So one of the instance which I would like to say. So I was working on a project, okay, with a team. So there was an incident that occurred, and I was working on that. But what I noticed that there are few resources which is already created. Someone one would have created for testing purpose, but has not cleaned up. Okay, if I created an EC2 instance which is running, if I created an CloudWatch log group, and there are some logs and S3 buckets are there with their data are already present, and some few instances that you have already created but you haven't cleaned up. Maybe it could be for testing purpose, some elastic IP that you have created but you haven't never used. So elastic IP, how it works, when you will create it elastic IP, if it is not attached to any of the instance, you will be getting charged. Okay, so if you someone has done the testing and maybe has deleted the his instance as well, but elastic IP is freed, but it is reserved for on your name, on your account, and for that purpose you will be getting charged, right? So those things were present in that those environment, and it is not a good practice. When you create something, it is best that you destroy after that. Okay, it should
Mhm.
not be getting charged unknowingly. So some those instances I found it. So for that purpose I have created an automation which can understand the analysis, and if it is so there should be a proper naming convention. That should be prefix or suffix should be start or end with test. If it is ending with the test, it will automatically delete it, and it will check the usage and it will delete it. So what it has done, it has saved around $300 per month, and you can say $3,600 per year. So that is a very simple fix, and people are just creating it and not deleting the resources, and you are getting charged. And $3,600 per year is also a good saving, right? It is not a huge
Mhm.
saving, but any saving is a good saving only. So that the task I had done. So yeah, that is the one.
Now, coming specifically to Amazon, what is technically different about engineering at Amazon compared to other organizations that you've worked in?
Okay. So when I talk about Amazon, it is a bit different because Amazon works on 16 leadership principles. Okay. They have 16 leadership as well. Okay. So the majorly the thing is that when you get into Amazon, you will start seeing the differences. When you do work on some project or some product, or when you come up with some idea, right? So you will be the owner. It is not like that three, four, five DevOps engineer working on the same kind of instance, same kind of automation, same kind of project. No, it's not like that. You have to be the owner of your product end to end, from creating, from getting the idea, from scratching the idea, coming with the design doc and getting approvals, and then after you have to do the development of that, and then you have to do testing, then you have to deploy it, and then you have to publish that, and then you have to also work on the adoption so that others should know that you have created this. Apart from your team members, other teams can also adopt that particular tool or the automation that you have created. So you have to be the real owners. So other companies, when I worked with the Cognite, I will talk about that. So there are lot, means 20 to 30 DevOps engineers were there, and they are working and they are doing one on one project. There are two or three project DevOps engineers working parallelly. But here you will get the real ownership, real exposure. Whatever breaks, they will page you only. You have to answerable, you are accountable for that. And also you are writing, means you are writing your own run book, so that this run book can be accessed and analyzed or access, or can be helpful to other stakeholder who is working, who is using your product. So you can create your own product, you can actually sell it in your company, means you can ask for adoption, you can take it as a data point for you that you have created this particular product, or you have created self service. If you come up with an idea that I can build a self service platform, so that it will be helpful for my managers or other developers or other stakeholders to get the data of particular XYZ project. So you will be owning that only. It is, if you are working on a bigger project or smaller, it doesn't matter, you are the owner, you have to work it and drive it end to end. And and you have to come up with the SOPs, you have to come up with all the FAQs and everything. You have to own it and you have to deliver it. So end to end delivery, ownership, and also come up big, think big, invent and simplify. If something is already there, you have to implement and simplify it, means come up with a more easier way, or you can how you can quick make things more quicker. Or if you're working on some repetitive apps, you have to uh, uh, automate it. So all those things you have to do. You have to think on it, you have to think big, and come up with a new idea and how you can make it more resilient. And you have to work basically independently. So these things is bit different from other companies and in Amazon. So this is what I felt, and it also help you to build your character, build more in-depth knowledge, taking more ownership, and you will act like a leader. So, and you will treat everyone as a customer. So there is a good saying in Amazon that everyone is your customer, even your manager is your customer, and we call it customer first. customer obsession. So, and you have to earn trust from your customers. You have to always prioritize what customer need. Think about the customer perspective. If you were the customer, how you will use it. So those are critical thinking that will be incarved in you when you work at Amazon for a longer period of time.
That is actually really beautiful. And having end to end accountability, I can imagine how exciting it must be to work also, knowing that you're the only one managing this end to end, you're the one working alone. I feel like that's a lot more accountability and a lot more thrilling also in that sense. So, you mentioned automation also multiple times throughout the interview. You mentioned that you've automated multiple things issue when it came to wastage of money when it came to cloud and not terminating required stuff at the right time. You mentioned automation so many times that I really do want to ask you this. You're working with both cloud infrastructure and Gen AI. Why do
Yeah.
you think a DevOps engineer should care about AI at this point of time?
Okay. So, as a DevOps engineer, yeah, I do work with Gen AI. We do work with a lot of Gen AI automations, and also I created some Gen AI automation tool as well. So, as a DevOps engineer, why should you care about Gen AI? Because things are changing, right? It is changing very drastically. Like the task that we used to do 2 or 3 years back, it is now automated, right?
Mhm.
Nobody is asking you to write code. Like there is also some few of the things that we are working is AI first. So they will not ask you to write code. And I think generally what we used to do, we do have to write code. We have to go on Stack Overflow, checking for what is the error, how to fix it. Now AI can do that. You will just give the prompt, AI will write the code. So right, coding is not a problem right now. So
Mhm.
how things are getting, and also once you do things like you have to update something, some run book or some Confluence page, you have to update it, like right. So that is also automated. Everything is getting automated now. So that is what I am saying. Things are changing very drastically now. AI is in picture. So what you have to do, you have to, being a DevOps engineer, you don't have to be a slave of an AI. You can have that as a your companion. Okay, it should be your friend who help you to fast forward you. And like you can have your deliverables 10 times faster than the later that you had, okay, earlier that you had. So that is the one. And there is a saying there is a saying that AI will not replace the engineers, AI will not replace the DevOps engineer, but if you are not using AI, you will be replaced by those engineers who are using AI. So that is the what I want to say about a DevOps engineer and AI in the future in DevOps.
Well, I think that's a very beautiful saying. And I mentioned it in a lot of my videos that AI won't replace you, a person using AI will.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
things are changing very, very drastically. It's true. It's like when internet came into being and things changed drastically all of a sudden. So I do feel like we'll cope up with it. It's not that AI is going to replace everybody, but you'll have to learn how to work with AI as an assistant or a friend to, speed up your tasks. Now, this is something. Now, you've made it extremely clear that you don't think AI is going to replace DevOps engineers. But do you think
yeah.
it's fundamentally going to change what a DevOps engineer does right now?
Yeah, obviously it will change. It will not it is not like that it will do all the things that DevOps engineer is doing. But yeah, things will be changing. Things will like if you are writing an YAML file, you don't have to write
Mm.
every blocks of that YAML file, right? So you can
Mm.
give a prompt that I want this and it will be created. So this will change, right? Coding part will be changing, but the decision, see, DevOps, what I've told, that it is not about just knowing the tools and creating pipelines. It is meant about how you are designing your infra, decision taking. Because everything, like you cannot give AI full access to the
Mm.
production as well. You will not give everything. You cannot rely on decisions of AI. You have to know your restriction, you have to know your product, you have to know your customers, and then how you will make the decisions. So decision making will not be getting replaced. Designing perspective will not be replaced. You have to do trade off, real trade off, that you are working with AI. So AI will not be, they can help you, give you some suggestions, but actual person, you and your stakeholder, your managers, your folks, your peers will be the one you can real discuss with and come up with it. Because AI is working on knowledge base. that knowledge base is built by you as a real engineer, right? And they will go through those knowledge base and give you some suggestions. If that
Hmm.
knowledge base is not there, then how AI will help you? So
Hmm.
you are really deep into the tools, deep into the designings, and deep into the real project scenarios, actual debugging you have done, you know Linux, you know networking, you know deep down how C groups works, how namespace works, okay, what is containers, and if something fails, how you will debug go into the containers and come up with the solutions. AI can also be only be a container. Sometimes happens like AI hallucinate. So if you rely on AI for everything, AI will start giving you the wrong answer, and if you start implementing that, the real production will go on outage. So some real instance also happened in recent 2025 also. If you would have heard about AWS outage. So there
Hmm.
was internal outage happened due to Kiro. Some data centers was down for almost 11 or 16 hours, I guess. So that was a real that was only due to AI only. So we cannot rely on AI because big giants like AWS has faced those kind of issues, and a lot of it 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 can impact your customer trust as well, right? So something I cannot rely on AWS anymore. So those kind of things. OpenAI also one of the example who went into
Hmm.
the production outage. So those cloud was down. So those things you cannot actually rely. Things will change, but the decision making, actual trade off, actual engineering will be always be there. But I say DevOps and SRE will not be impacted much through AI. But yeah, things what we are making pipelines, we are creating infra, we are making architecture, we are making dashboards, okay, monitoring dashboard. Those things you will be, because if I need 10 10 DevOps engineer right now, we can do manage with 5 DevOps engineer who are using AI, so who has
Hmm.
AI knowledge as well. So I can manage with 5 DevOps engineers. That will help to cost cutting as well, and also it will impact your roles as well. So it is better to have some AI knowledge as well, AI learnings, so that you can survive in the changing market.
All right. I just, while I do agree with everything that you said, I think there's nothing I would like to, button to or say that's wrong. There's one thing I do want to discuss. While AI is not being used in a lot of technologies that have a very little error margin, like where they cannot afford errors because AI does make errors, we both agree that AI is rapidly evolving and it might get even better. So, if we take this argument one step further, do you think an AI agent can eventually detect a production issue, diagnose the root cause, fix it, deploy the change, verify the solution, all without a human? And if you think that could be the case, where should the human remain in this particular loop?
Okay, so yeah, the question is like, it is as I mentioned just now, like if you rely your production, if you will give your production access to AI, and you think that AI can debug all the production issue, give suggestions, do the fixes, and do the deployment also, the errors which is happened to AWS, OpenAI, Microsoft, it will happen again. So we cannot
Hmm.
afford that. So we cannot provide production access, and we can actually rely on AI for all those stuff. Yeah, it will help you. If you give the logs, it will suggest you the errors. Yeah, this is the actual error. You can think in this direction. It can provide you the direction, but actual understanding. See, sometimes happens like we do give some prompt. Whatever the code it has generated, or what are the responses it has generated, we copy paste it and do started working. That the miss. The thing is that humans comes in there. What the response it has generated, it has to be analyzed by humans, whether it is right or not in this context, whether it should go or not. You have again do talk with AI and come up with the right solutions. And also there is like something happens like AI don't know the blast radius as well. It will directly implement something, and
Hmm.
things will go big. Okay, AI don't know those stuffs. You as a human, you understand whether this solution I take from AI, can I implement it? So you are in the decision making stage. So you have to draw a clear line what you can provide to AI, what you cannot provide to AI, what can be, what can be reversible, and what are the blast radius, how can you can reverse the changes. So humans job here to setting the particular proper boundaries between AI and your work. And you have to be, because if something goes wrong due to AI will not be the accountable. I cannot in AWS, in AWS kind of footage, I cannot blame Kiro that Kiro has done, yeah, take him to the jail, I don't know. But see,
Mhm.
you are the accountable. So as a human you have to set the boundary, you have to be accountable, you have to do the decision making, and you have to come up with a resilient and more robust architecture. Use AI but not rely on AI.
I think you very beautifully using AWS outage examples and other examples, very beautifully explained what actually happens when an AI agent gets complete access to production infrastructure and why that's the wrong decision, right?
Yes.
Now, we've also seen in the past, like a lot of companies did lay off too many people and completely started relying on AI. And then they had to take a step back and reanalyze their decisions because they weren't able to bring in that many profits. And it was actually quite problematic. So I feel like you're very, very right about everything that you said because the human intervention has always been and will always be necessary when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
So, again, a person using AI would take your job, not AI itself. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about DevOps and Amazon, let's go a little bit back to college level. All right, for all the students who are in college and who are watching this video, if you were in college today itself and you had 6 months to become job ready for a DevOps role, what exact roadmap would you follow?
Okay. So what I would suggest, like learn whatever the college is. When I was in college, I was not
Hmm.
aware I am going to take DevOps as a career. Okay, and site reliability as a career, and I was not aware that I will get into Amazon and then further I will teach on Geeks for Geeks and other forums as well on this. And I was not aware I'll be here in podcast as well, right? So
Hmm.
these things we are not aware. So how, if according to my journey, what I will suggest to a college student, if you are planning as a DevOps and SRE as a career role, first of all, learn Linux. First of all, get a good CGPA, like at least
Hmm.
it depends on college, like what is your bar there, how campus recruitment happens, what is the good range of CGPA. But in my college, it is treated as 8 plus CGPA is a fair CGPA. So I had
Hmm.
a 8.10. This is my CGPA. So I maintained 8 as a bar line, as a boundary. So I will just be up at 8, more than 8. So I had 8.10 CGPA. Okay, so
Exactly about it.
and then start learning Linux. Okay,
Hmm.
you if you don't have Linux, install Ubuntu, which is a distro, and start practicing Linux and learn about Linux command. You can do hands on. Okay, there are a lot of documentation on GFG as well, Geeks for Geeks as well, and other forums also. You can have some those real world problem and try to write the script as well. Okay, first Linux, understand what is file, what is processes, how to work with permissions, what is namespaces, understand what is C groups, systemd, logs, and all those things you can understand on the terminal. First of all, this is done. One check marks Linux and its command line interface, and these process files, system permissions, namespace, C groups. These things you can do. Okay. Second
Hmm.
comes networking. Okay, networking is as much as important. So if you are trying to go into DevOps, SRE, and a cloud engineer role and a platform engineer role, then networking and any, I guess, if any software engineering, networking is very important. But we are talking about DevOps and SRE, it is very much important. Networking, how DNS works, HTTP work, what is a load balancer, how load balancer works, what is ingress, inbound, outbound, what is TCP, UDP, and how to write the scripting. Okay, you can write some scripts as well. So Python and Bash scripting is also important. Check number two. Third is check number three is learn any of the cloud. It is not like I only emphasis on AWS, I only emphasize Azure or GCP. Any cloud, or your interface will change, fundamental will not change. Okay, here if you are using in AWS, if you are using EKS, you will be using AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service in Azure, and GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine in GCP. So just the name and interface will change, but the fundamental will be the same only. Okay,
Hmm.
so pick any cloud, of your interest, I would recommend AWS. Okay, because AWS is widely used, and its customer base is very much important, and is one of the first cloud in the market. So, and it is widely occupied the market. So go for AWS and understand whatever the like compute I mentioned, right, in the previous sections as well, like compute, VPC, storage, IAM, and those things you can follow. And then it
Hmm.
comes uh, after that you can go for observability. You can learn Prometheus, Grafana. Okay, you can have Prometheus, Grafana, and on those as a monitoring. Terraform, you can learn Terraform, because one, infrastructure as a cloud is very important. Okay, so how I will recommend Terraform. There is cloud formation also, but cloud formation is cloud, it's not cloud independent, it is only for AWS only. So go for Terraform. And then it comes, you can also give some, if you have time, then you can also learn Ansible. Okay, and what else? Python is very important. Python scripting you can learn Python scripting. And yeah, these, not much, only if you learn these 5 to 7 things, and also understand what actual DevOps is. Okay, so then it will be easier to connect these dots. Okay,
Mhm.
so this would I would have done if I am in college, and I would have taken like around 5 to 6 months it will take. So if you have time in college, so invest 1.5 month to each section, so it will be, you will be a good DevOps engineer. And also one thing, you can add projects. It's not like learning tools will help you to get into a good program, because everything will be judged on project. So I will ask you what you have done in this project and what all the errors you have got. So if you will actually have done those projects, you will talk about errors. This is the challenges I have faced, this is how I made it work. So those all things can be, you can be caught if you have not worked on project. So each and every section you start working, creating a project. For Terraform, create project. For Ansible, create project. For AWS, create a project. For Linux, you can create a project. So all the things like create learning pipelines, I missed that pipeline as well. So you can have pipelines, you can learn Jenkins, or you can learn GitHub Actions. Okay, you can have GitHub Actions there, as it is rightly evolving. So but if you know Jenkins, it is also good. GitHub Actions or Jenkins, anyone you can choose of your choice. So go for GitHub Actions, I will say. And apart from, yeah, this is all the checklist I can put it right now.
Well, you did give us a very good checklist, but when we talk about an order, would you recommend first Linux, then networking, then Python, then AWS, then Docker, Kubernetes, then Terraform, and then in the end CI/CD pipelines? Or would you give this journey a different structure?
No, this actually seems great to me. This chronology is great. But one thing
Hmm.
I wanted to endorse one again, because you can add projects.
Hmm.
All those scenario, all those checklists or the chronology you have mentioned, it should have. It doesn't need any reordering things, but you can add projects each and every stages. Like, and you can create a shell scripting project. Okay, you can have some, you make use of cron jobs. You have to use some cron job, and that it will trigger at night 12 p.m. and it will do this task. So you have written on shell scripting, and you also added some cron job. So this is how it will help you to create a project. Okay, and you will get a better understanding. So this is how I will also suggest each and every stage should have project. If you have CI/CD, then build a Jenkins pipeline or GitHub Actions pipeline. So that will help you to understand the like how it works, to understand, give you the in-depth knowledge, how to write stages, how to how to fail, how to do fail fast. Okay, what all stages should be there, how to push image, how to pull that image in the ECR from, or if you are working on GitHub Action, there is the image registry, GHCR, GitHub container registry, GHCR. GitHub container registry, something is there, GHCR, container registry. Okay, uh GH for GitHub, C for container, R for registry, GHCR. Yeah. So there you can also use how it pushes the image, how to pull that image. So all these things you can have, some these, and also you can add some DSA as well, like You can add like 50 to 60 lead code questions, majorly based on array and strings, and all those questions you should do in Python, because Python is one of the important language, and Python or Go you can use. Okay, Python or Go, I will recommend Python. So
Hmm.
this is what you can do.
I think you very beautifully mentioned before also that DS is, you need to know the basics, easy to medium questions, POTDs, lead code, all of that works. You
Yes.
did mention that Python is the language to go to. I think I would like to highlight that anybody who's wondering where you should do DS, if, like which language you should choose if you want to target DevOps, I think Python is a good option from what I've gathered. Now you've endorsed both the things. Certifications, you mentioned you got a cloud certification yourself, and you also endorsed projects, having proof of work at every stage to show to recruiters. Which one do you think is more valuable as a fresher, projects or certifications?
Anytime project. Certificate is just a medium. If you have only one certificate, you don't have to write 10 or 15 certificates. Okay.
Hmm.
If you have any certificate, one associate level, that will help you to get your resume stand out at that time. But when you get in, once your resume is shortlisted, you will get into interview. You will not talk about certificates. You will talk about your projects. So,
Hmm.
and also eventually, if you have not done certification, it is okay at some time. But if you have not done the project, it is not going to fly. So you
Hmm.
have to do the projects at every stages as a proof of task, that is proof of work that you have done. And also it will give you some real world scenarios as well. If somebody asks you, like if you have mentioned your project, if I ask you the cross questioning and you are not able to answer, it will create some kind of distrust. Okay, I cannot
Hmm.
trust on your resume because you are not
Hmm.
able to explain your own task. Then
Hmm.
how can I trust other things? You have done certifications. How can I trust, like, you have done certification generally, you know about the things. Okay, you can buy some certification, you can have some other certification, there are other ways you can gain it. But yeah, if you can explain your project very fluently with all the edge cases which I am asking, okay, and all the impact that you have created with that project, that will be more valuable than having just certifications on your resume.
That is very understandable. Now that we're talking about resume, what would make you stop scrolling while looking at a fresher's DevOps resume?
Okay. So yeah, I in Amazon I took around 15 or 20, around 15 to 20 interviews as well. Okay.
Hmm.
So when I go through the resume, those were already shortlisted by HR. But when I go
Hmm.
through those resume, what actually helped me, like what actually looks appealing, right? So if they have mentioned the projects, okay, the projects, and they have highlighted the keywords, and like they have worked on CI/CD, they worked on Kubernetes, they have mentioned Python, Ansible, they would have Docker, AWS, some services. Okay. And then also, if they have mentioned, like they have designed something, they have developed something, and it has created an impact and has resolved the real problem in their team. Okay, that is, and some automation they have done, and they have actually done some actual help to the team in reduction of SLA or cost or something like that. Then
Hmm.
it makes the resume stand out and help us to like make us more interested in that person. Like that, this guy is, we can talk about things that he have done. So that makes things
Hmm.
more.
Now that we're talking about SLAs and all of that, I do feel like that's something that you would look forward in an experienced person's resume, right? When it comes to a fresher, I feel like projects is what you highlighted would
Yes.
make them stand out, right? Now, you also mentioned that you've been involved in interviewing at
Hmm.
Amazon. So, what do you think is the biggest mistake a candidate makes in technical interviews?
Okay, so yeah, this is a very common thing that I have noticed among the candidates that I have taken the interviews. So they write those things in their resume that they have not actually did. Okay,
Hmm.
they are pretending that they know something. If they have mentioned Python, if I
Hmm.
ask some basic question on Python, if they are not able to answer. They have say that they if I ask him how much you rate yourself in Linux out of 5, if they will say 5, 5 or 4, then I assume that he is good at Linux, right? And if I
Hmm.
say what is C group and he is not able to answer it, then it creates some distrust. Like this is a basic one. If you are rating yourself at good at your Linux or Terraform or AWS, and I'm asking you what is IAM, then you are not able to give what is the difference between I am role and I am user, then this is not going to fly. Again,
Hmm.
also when they mentioned that they have designed something that has created xyz kind of impact and not x%, 5%, then the thing reduce SLA by x%, 10%, 5%. So then what is I ask like how you have designed it. Suppose you have mentioned you have designed VPC. So I will
Hmm.
ask, if I have something, some product or some software that I want to build.
Hmm.
For that purpose, dev team has created all those things. I have to host it. For that, you have to design a VPC. So
Hmm.
what all things we will gather? So if he will started fumbling there and he will not be able to explain properly, then it again creates a distrust. So from there, I will be able to think that this resume is fake. His whatever the thing he has mentioned is not right, it is not falling into places. So that will is one of the major reason. And if I ask, he had mentioned that he is good at coding as well. So if I ask some Linux related problem or shell skipping related problem, he will not be able to explain. He have written some code or some command. And if I ask, right, what how this work, how things are, can you explain it, the complexity, and the what is the result, what is how you will try run this. So it
Hmm.
will give you the proper understanding how that person is really, what is the depth of his knowledge. So this is what actually judge. So what I will suggest to the viewers who are viewing this podcast, first of all, leave everything, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, whatever the tools which I mentioned, leave everything. First create a resume and mention what you have actually did there. Okay. And if I ask something, explain this project, you would be able to explain it in a very clear picture, one by one, what is there in a star format: situation, task, action, and result, and the impact that has made. So, and what all, if I ask you some cross question, can you say what are challenges you have faced, and you will be vague at that time, it will not going to fly. So
Hmm.
you have to be clear what all challenges you have faced, how you have mitigated those challenges, and how you actually delivered it, and what is the impact after delivery. So those things should be your resume should be your picture only. Because if I ask anything from your resume, you, if you have answered it, and if I ask what is containerization and virtualization, if is there no clear answer, if you have missed something, I can tolerate that. But your
Hmm.
resume, if you have not done anything and you have put it, and I have asked question, you have not answered it, then it is a no from me.
I think that is extremely fair and very understandable. You did emphasize on how it creates a distrust
Yes.
to the interviewee when the to the interviewer when the interviewee is lying in front of them or saying something that they are not very good at. This is something that I want to ask. What's the one question that you would ask any interviewee, which immediately separates memorized knowledge from real understanding?
Okay. So one very often question that I oftenly ask, ki, tell me about something that you built or operated, that means you have
Hmm.
built, designed that, and it has it, if it has broke, and how it
Hmm.
has, what happened, and how you debug it, and what did you change after that, so that as a long term fix, so that it will not be repeated in future. So this is a classic question. So here they will ask about some project, and maybe he has not done that, but he will start talking about that as well. And this will tell a lot about that candidate, that whether he has built or not, whether he has delivered it end to end. If I mention that you have build something end to end and you have delivered it, and it would have broke in production, and you debugged it, so he will try to connect everything. Maybe
Hmm.
sometimes that you have not built end to end, but you have operated it, or you have did some maybe some feature you have added. Okay, and it would have broke. So start talking from there only. Do not that I have built it, I have this design, and I have reviewed it, so I will start drilling into that. So you will break at some point. So what is your breaking point? It will tell us that you have did or not. So be honest in the interview. If you have, suppose I had it appeared in one of the interviews. Okay, there, and there an interviewer has asked whether you have knowledge on Ansible or not. So if you have, I will rate myself 2 out of 5 in Ansible. So that was an honest answer, right? Because
Hmm.
in current work area, I'm not working with Ansible. I have some other tool that I work with for configuration management. So I admit that, yeah, I am out of practice with Ansible. Okay, I will rate myself 2 and out of 5 in that Ansible, since but I have exposure. If I have given task, I will work on it. Okay, so that is the honest answer interviewer can tolerate. If they will not, you can learn it, right? You have a lot of knowledge, you have experience, you have done this project, or also you will learn this as well. It's not a big deal. Okay, but so be honest when you are talking in an interview. Do not fake anything. If you will fake it, you will break it. So yeah.
When you talk about being honest when somebody's in an interview, do you think it's okay for an interviewee to say, I don't know, to a question?
See, I don't know is not a right answer, because I do not expect this answer, because if you will kill everything. Like if I ask you, do you know Terraform? I don't know. So this is very blunt answer, okay? Because you have, first of all, you have to understand the job descriptions. Okay, whatever the job you are applying, they will provide your job description. Understand whether this job is fit for you. If you don't know, if I ask Terraform, so you should not answer I don't know. You should first of all understand, go prepared, go prepared with Terraform. Not all that. I don't expect that you will be, if you don't know, at least you should have exposure of it. If I ask something, what is C group, you should not tell me what is, I don't know about this. But you can put it like, yeah, it could be related to this XYZ, and yeah, I'm not sure about it, but here is, I can put it, but I can polish it post that interview. So I also had encountered this kind of uh, things when I was getting interviewed for other companies as well. So they have asked me like, do you know XYZ? I don't remember the exact question, but yeah, I faced it. Like for that point of time, I told that this was not my work area. I haven't worked on these things, but I know about these things. If required, I will learn it in future according to the requirement or according to the project. As I'm a quick learner, I have learned this technology. Only this is remaining. Only the fundamentals I really know. I know cloud formation. You can also talk about, if I ask you Terraform, if you have some exposure about cloud formation, you can tell about, yeah, Terraform is also infrastructure as a cloud, and it is platform independent. So if I will learn it, and as it is required for the project, it will not take me much time, since I already aware of cloud formation. It is works the same way. So there are some scripting and syntax things. I will learn it within a week. So you can give some timeline and commitment to learn, and give some exposure, curious, that you are curious to learn about it if it is required for the projects. Yes. So yeah, that will create a sense of trust and connectivity, you and interviewer. Yeah, this guy is eager to learn. Yeah, one thing I can tolerate. So if you say for 4 or 5 times that I don't know, it will not going to help you in the interview.
Yeah, so I do agree with what you said. Like saying it extremely bluntly and ending the conversation right there is also a very bad sign. Talking
Yeah.
about things related to it, you know, the basics, talking about what you truly know, and showing enthusiasm to learn always sits better than just simply saying, I do not know, and ending the conversation right there.
Yeah.
Well, now let's come roll back a little bit to career growth and this field as a whole. DevOps can involve a lot of incidents, it can involve a lot of pressure also, and it needs constant learning. So,
Yeah.
how do you avoid burnout in a career like this?
Yeah. So yeah, burnout is like, you can see, there is one more thing I want to mention here. Like burnout depends, like if you are interested in some
Mhm.
work, then burnout will
Mhm.
not happen generally. But
Mhm.
yeah, even if I'm interested in DevOps and SRE field, I'm really interested. I'm genuinely like my job. So but sometimes what we do the same task every day. Okay, same task every day. That is the main reason, a reason for the burnout. So you have to figure it out, how you can avoid those tasks and actually work on some other impactful areas. Okay, if you are getting some of the recurring errors, and you know the fix, and you are reactively fixing it, so you have to think about, how can I long term fix this so that it will not happen, so that I can spend my time on new areas, explore things, and come up with the new ideas, and help the team to grow further, right? so that will make things more interesting. And also no one can learn everything. Okay, there are some new tools every day. People will say that learn GitHub Actions, some will say Argo CD, some will say Jenkins. So you nobody can learn everything. Yeah, you have to be ready with the fundamentals, understand your recurring task, come up with a proper idea with automation, so that you can long term fix things, so that it will not become boring, that you are doing every day, log into the system, you're doing the same things and log out. That will not be help you in longer term as well. And it will be like your job role become boring, and you will start losing interest. So you have to be like, also if you are on call, so
Hmm.
ac- actually you are getting paged every time for the same error. That's why I mentioned, right? Every time, if
Hmm.
you're at night, if you're on call for 1 week, like 1 week or 8 days or 10 days, like that. So if you are getting paged every day at night 3 a.m. 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., you are sleeping, you want to sleep, so but you paged in everybody, you every day you woke up and do the debugging, sleep in your eyes, full of sleep, your eyes full of sleep, and then it will become very tiring. You tomorrow, you when you will wake up, you will be very exhausted, you are not feeling interested in your job. So that is the one. There should be proper rest as well. Suppose you work for 7 days on call, then what you have to do, take a break. Like, do not uh, separate yourself from those incidents. There is another call, let them handle. Proper handover should be there. Okay, you when you are handing over your task, there should be proper handover, so that you should be not getting attached to that particular thing. So if you are off call, then you should not be working on those stuff. Take a break, work on other tasks which is less exhausting, interesting, working on the fixes, permanent fixes, come with the new ideas, start a new project, discuss with your team, come up with a fresh and um, think big. So all those things you can do to avoid burnout, and learn new things, because every day things are changing due to AI and some other tools. Everyone is launching some other tools the other day, so you can learn things, keep exploring. So, and since you are interested in DevOps and study, there are a lot to learn. So learning new things also will help you to get to avoid this burnout. Yeah.
I really agree. Like, we often talk about work-life balance in every podcast, but we don't talk about the work balance in itself. Like, how
Yeah.
if you've been under stress for a long time, or you've been dealing with, or you've been on call for 7 days, 8 days, taking that break where you're working on a less stressful task or learning more is really essential. So I
Yeah.
believe the balancing out your work in the right way is also extremely, extremely essential. Now, you also talked about accountability a while back, how you get to be accountable for your product end to end when it comes to your current company. How important do you think communication and ownership are for a DevOps or an SRE engineer?
Okay. So see, as a DevOps and SRE engineer, you work with cross teams as well. Cross collaborations. You working with stakeholder managers, product managers, uh, operations teams. So all there are. If something goes wrong, as you are on call, something goes wrong, you have to properly communicate it, tell about, understand about blast radius. Okay, so you have to communicate about the stakeholders, the users. So communication is here not a soft skill for a SRE or DevOps engineer. It is one of the core skills that you should have. And this is what you can this will what it can differentiate a junior DevOps engineer or SRE engineer to senior SRE or senior DevOps engineer. Cause accountability and communication is one of the core skill that we have. If some incident happens, you have to clearly say what is happening, okay, and what you are actually doing, and what you need to do, so that it can actually fix, okay, it permanently. So taking the ownership end to end is very important here in this SRE and DevOps role. And communication is what you can say, it is one of the valuable skills that you have. Apart from Docker, Kubernetes, and those, communication is also one of the important. And you can also you should start filling up the run books or the confluence that you are working, so that it can help you and other teammates as well. So it is also one mode of communications as well. So.
Now that we've talked about ownership and communication, which I believe are truly a human skill, um, if AI makes technical skills even more easier to acquire, what human skills do you think will become even more valuable?
Okay. So for now, the human skills which I can talk about, we as AI is in the market, every company is giving their employee AI access. So
Mhm.
people, I feel like people are getting more lazy. Okay,
Mhm.
they totally rely on AI. They do not want to take their call. They ask AI, this is the case. What should I do here? It will XYZ, just do it. They will do it. They do not judge, and they do not judge that decision. They do not take their call if that is right or not. So this is what
Mhm.
things. First of all, first couple of years we should yeah, actually the most of the people, first you have to build the tool fluency, like you have to learn about all the tools that you have. Okay, and then you can comfortably switch from day to day tool, getting the task done, writing the code, getting the YAML files done, and then you have to take the proper decisions, that whether it is actually solving your problems or not, or it is making more complex. So you have to be fluent with your AI, and this is how you can make a trade off among these skills, like, yeah.
That is very, very fair. Okay, now let's move on to one of the last chunks of this particular podcast. This is called a rapid fire round. So you have to
Okay.
give absolutely no reasoning, no explanation. I'm just going to ask you stuff and you just have to choose an answer. All right? All right, let's go. Kubernetes or Docker?
Docker to learn, you can use Docker to learn the containerization, and then you can move it to Kubernetes for the scaling.
All right. AWS or Azure?
AWS, but fundamentally it is all your cloud stuff, so you can choose AWS for the first time. Yeah.
Terraform or CloudFormation?
Terraform, since it is a cloud agnostic, so yeah.
Jenkins or GitHub Action?
GitHub Actions.
DevOps or SRE?
SRE, because SRE is extension of DevOps.
Fair enough. DevOps or platform engineering?
Platform engineering.
Yeah, DevOps is losing here. Certifications or
Why?
projects?
Yeah,
Mhm.
projects any day.
Mhm. You had something to say about the last one?
Yeah, so what I'm saying, right, the platform engineering is like it is evolving. Like platform is a
Mhm.
more evolved version, because you have to work on some self-service portal, because you have to
Mhm.
make it more feasible and easy for others, so that you have some DevOps mindset already. You will build some
Mhm.
platform with some development knowledge as well. Then
Mhm.
it will become more. You can do a click and your pipeline is created. You do a click, your cluster is created. You do a click, deployment has done. So it is, that is platform engineering, basically creating a platform. So that is
Mhm.
why it is evolving from DevOps to SRE to platform engineer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. DSA or system design?
System design, because our role basically revolves around designing. So if you know high level design, that in it is very great.
AI co-pilot or AI agent?
uh, Copilot today, and you can go for creating agent tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow. All right. Most overrated DevOps tool?
Kubernetes. Everybody is going towards Kubernetes. Help me to learn Kubernetes. I do hear a lot of Kubernetes questions only in interviews as well.
Well, there's a good reason they're running towards it then. Well,
Yes.
most underrated DevOps skill?
Linux and networking.
One technology every fresher should learn?
Linux.
You're advertising Linux at this point in time. One technology people are overlearning? Kubernetes.
Mm, Docker and Kubernetes, but
Mhm.
not actually implementing into a project, but they are learning the tools, what is pod, what is deployment, what is test tool set. So all this. So they are overlearning. They should do overdo on that instead of learning it.
Fair enough. Last one of the section. One mistake DevOps aspirants should always avoid.
Yeah, do not run towards the tools. Okay, do not learn tons of tools, because there are, for pipeline also there are GitHub Actions, Argo CD, Jenkins, and others are there. But go for fundamentals, clear your fundamentals, create your base, strong base, and that is what you can avoid. This is the mistake people go for tools instead of learning the fundamentals, conceptual things.
Very, very understandable. Now, on to the last question of this podcast. You moved your career as a fresher and then you moved into DevOps and cloud, and then you eventually reached Amazon while also working with GenAI. That's been your career experience so far. Now, if you had to start again in 2026 with this year, knowing what you know today already, what would you learn and what would you ignore and what would you do differently?
Okay. So when I start as a fresher, like as a career path as a DevOps engineer in 2026, I will start with the basics fundamentals, because fundamentals is very much important.
Mhm.
I will learn Linux networking and Python basics, shell scripting, and then also as it is to we are in 2026, AI is one of the important skills that we should have. Understand AI, how to use AI, prompt engineering, how to create an agent, how to automate things using AI. So that would I will learn, and then we'll go with other tools like Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, Ansible, Grafana, Prometheus. All these things you will learn. And first of all, and the what I will ignore is that fear of missing out, because I remember when I was talking with my friend. He told that, bro, let's why not you are learning Argo CD? Argo CD is like like something we should learn. So the thing is that we should not be think like we are missing on something. We
Mhm.
are learning. We are working on Jenkins, and if we don't learn Argo CD, we will lose. We will be stay back. Everyone will move forward. So it is not
Mhm.
like that. Everything is the concept. Only, as I mentioned, only UI and buttons are changing on your platform, on your UI, and the buttons are changing. Okay, but the actual creation of pipeline, the mindset, the logic you are building, the code you will write, the logic behind that, everything will remain the same. So do not go for more and more tools, new tools. Okay, so because if you are learn Argo CD tomorrow, today, maybe after 7 days or 10 days or 1 month, new technology will come. So again you will rush to that. So do not do that. If it is required, learn it then and there. But if you have conceptual and fundamental clear, so everything will be seems easy. And what I will do it differently, I will take more ownership. If you are in a project, you will I will take more ownership. I will own more and more things, so that it will give me idea of having like sense of accountability, you can say. So that I am accountable to this product. If anything goes wrong, if anything goes good as well, I am accountable to it. No one else have the credit. I will take uh, more and more ownership in my earlier phase. If I am learning something, do it like you are owning something. Okay, if you're learning Docker, own it. Like, do not leave it in behind. So in between. Okay, so if you're learning something XYZ and there are in between, we do leave it, we do not complete
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
complete the that you have started. So that is what ownership means here. So take the ownership, you complete it till the end. Then only all the three things will all the things will be started making sense. Okay, because when I was as a fresher, when I started learning as a DevOps, when I was trying to switch, so what I did, there are some point of time there you will feel very low, right? Nothing is happening. I'm learning, I'm doing projects, I'm applying everywhere. Nothing is falling in place. Nobody is
Mhm.
calling me, nobody is reaching out to me. But that is the breaking point that you have to overpass. Do not break at that point. Keep learning, keep going. Someday, tomorrow, nobody knows, like the same day you will get another a call from HR. Nobody knows. Are you ready for that? Like, if I ask you, I will have an interview at Google tomorrow, are you ready? So if answer is yes, then it is great. If answer is no, then you are not ready. Do not wait for anything to happen. Start doing, keep learning. The ups and downs will be there, but do not lose the pace. Even if you are learning, sitting for 30 minutes only 30 minutes a single day, at least do it. Do not, I don't want you to do for 3 hours every day. 30 minutes also, if consistency is there, you will make it. So these all things I will do differently, and I would ignore. And these all things learning, you can take it. And also, I would say, be consistent. Ups and downs will be there. no, HR will reject you, your resume will be rejected, the portal you are applying will be rejected, your applications will not be getting shortlisted. That is not a problem. It means that you are getting more time to crack more better company, okay, more better job role, more better package. So when I was in Cognizant, I faced the same issue. But yeah, today I when I go back and see that Manish who never lose his pace, that I am today. So I will keep learning, keep growing. So that is what you can also do. And there are a lot of incident or a lot of examples also present over in the market as well. So yeah, so you can look up to them as well as a part of learning. Yeah.
That is very, very aptly put. I do agree with a lot of things you said. Before ending this video, a few points that I would want to highlight among what you said is consistency always does take over motivation. Motivation and, studying one day for 4 to 5 hours versus studying 30 minutes every day, the 30 minutes would always win. And I think it was very beautifully put that if you never fail, you'll never become who you're meant to be. And every failure is just bringing you closer to even better company and giving you more time to prepare for the same. So I think that was very, very beautifully put. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your views and thought processes, and also how you went through your journey with us. I'm pretty sure a lot of students would be benefiting with this. Thank you so much.